This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 327 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Uncle Jimmy's and Total Saddle Fit. Today on the show, we have Olympic bronze medalist and U.S. Young Horse team coach Christine Traurig on the future of the Young Horse program, and Emily Miles on her amazing winning horse, Wakeup. Plus, the Total Saddle Fit tip of the week with Endel Otts on transitions. This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
This is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show. With our producer, we've got our producer for the beginning of the month here, Glenn.
Geez, it seems like 2 months since we've all talked. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. We've all been busy. Last month was a really busy month for us all, so It's nice to get back in routine for sure.
Well, welcome back to the show, guys, and welcome. It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Hey, before you get started, a couple of things. We got some housekeeping stuff to do here for the Horse Radio Network. First, I wanted to thank you guys for helping. I don't know if we talked about this, actually. But the Horse Radio Network's now in the top 5 of all podcasting networks in the world.
Nice.
That includes
That's awesome.
All networks. So, after I went to the convention for podcasters, we kind of figured that out. We've done over 4,200 episodes with 6,000 guests we've interviewed over the last 8 years. And podcasting only started 10 years ago. So we were at the very beginning when nobody knew
the forefront of podcasting.
Yeah. Yes.
And now it's a huge thing, right?
Congratulations.
Nobody knew how to
Congrats to the Horse Radio Network.
So, yes, and it's NPR, that's the National Public Radio, that's really driving the popularity of podcasting now. And when I went to ADA, when I went to the trade show that I go to twice a year where the wholesalers meet the retailers, it was the first time that I went that people, the big companies, were wanting to talk to us.
Fantastic.
And I think we're turning the corner a little bit, and podcasting is going to become a big thing. And you guys, I have to thank you guys. Without my terrific batch of hosts, which I do, I'm so lucky. We have 20 hosts now on the Horse Radio Network.
Wow. Oh my gosh, the Christmas party is going to be a little out of control.
It's going to be crazy.
Well, 8 of them alone do those once-a-month episodes on Horses in the Morning, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's 8 of them alone, So it's and we have some new shows that are going to be coming on here shortly. I think we'll be adding 4 new shows in the next couple of months.
Nice.
Very cool.
And a bunch more for 2016. So thank you so much for all your help. I know you don't get paid much, but we do have fun.
We have a blast.
Good time.
What else would I do on a Thursday afternoon or evening?
That's right.
Not hang out with my guys.
And, we get to interview some amazing guests, too.
We do.
So
Yeah, I love our guests.
That's kind of
And
neat.
sometimes we have our listeners on, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah. And we love our new listeners. So can we give a shout out to Allison, who sent us an email today?
Yeah.
She said she recently found the Dressage Radio Show and loves it. She has an hour drive to the barn, and she listens all the time, and she's catching up on all the past episodes. And she said when she runs out of those, she's going to go to some of the other shows. So I'm just going to give you a hint, Allison. Try Horses in the Morning after you're done with those 2. It's fun. When you run out of those, you can go to Horses in the Morning. You only have almost 1,300 of those, and they're an hour and a half each.
That'll take you a while to get through.
Yeah, you'll be there for the next 6 years.
That'll be a lot of driving. Well, we hope, that's the one fun thing we get to do is we have some amazing guests, and we really, really try to bring some educational component so that people can enjoy, whether mucking stalls or driving to the barn, they can learn some stuff. So, Allison, we're super glad you found us, and share us with all your friends for sure.
And on September 30th, it's International Podcast Awareness Day. Yes, that's a thing.
Okay.
And the Horse Radio Network, Horses in the Morning specifically, has been invited to do our show live at 9 a.m. on the 30th from the barns at Disney World.
I want to go.
We're going to be traveling down the day before. Dr. Wendy Ying of the Driving Radio Show is going to come up. She lives in Sarasota. And we're Jennifer and her boyfriend, and we're all going to go together. And we're going the day before, and they're going to take us on a trail ride through Fort Wilderness. And then we're going to see the carriages and maybe do a carriage ride that night. And then the next morning, we're going to do the show live from the barns there at Fort Wilderness at Disney World. So I'm so excited about that.
So cool.
As far as we know, nobody's ever done a show from there. So I mean, from the
Fantastic.
barns. So
Is there room for some dressage riders?
sure, yeah, come on down. It'll be fun. We're gonna have a
Yeah.
blast. It'll be a great time, and you'll be able to hear that show on Horses in the Morning. So
Cool.
that's
Fantastic.
that's on my bucket list. We did the show. We did the morning show from the barn at Graceland, Elvis's barn.
Cool.
We were right in the aisle, and we did the show live from there and had the lady on who took care of Elvis's horses 30 years ago and helped Elvis ride his horses. And she told us spent an hour and a half telling us about Elvis and his horses. So it was on my list to do the Disney World thing, and we got that arranged. So thank you.
I honestly did not even know that that Elvis had horses.
Yes,
I
he
learned
was
something.
a big horse guy. Do you want a
Who
funny
knew?
Elvis story?
Yes.
Sure.
So Elvis got into horses. He used to take his horse. He had a Palomino that he rode that it was his favorite. And he used to, because his Graceland's right in the middle of town, people used to come up to the gate all the time. He always had people at the gate wanting to get a glimpse of Elvis. Well, he used to take his horse from the barn, which is at the back of the property, and ride like a bat out of hell down to the gate and come to a sliding stop. And he used to visit with the fans and have them take pictures and stuff. And then he used to turn around and take off with that Palomino and ride back the other way. His kids were always into horses. He got so into horses, and he was so neurotic. He was such a weird guy. He used to get up at 3 a.m. and wake his whole staff up. Get up at 3 a.m. and say, "I want to go shopping for horses." And they used to drive around to farms outside of Nashville at 3 a.m. And he used to knock on people's doors, wake them up, and say, "I like your horse in the field. I want to buy one." He bought 100 horses in a year that way, and they were
What?
all
Oh my
in the
God.
middle of the night. It was
That's
a
bizarre.
strange
Oh my God.
story.
Very
Strange
That's
guy.
funny. Interesting.
Weird.
Who knew?
Yeah.
There you go.
It was really neat.
Glenn, you
there's
got
your
so
Elvis
much knowledge
story
in
of the
there, and you're not that good at trivia.
day. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm not playing.
Nobody
with
ever
Put
mine.
asked
that
me
in.
about Elvis and his horses.
Yeah, let's get that in.
So there's my funny story. And there's our news. So we got lots more coming up, too. We have a big announcement that we're going to make in the next couple of weeks about the holidays. So that's coming up also.
Yeah, cool. We'll look for that. We'll look for new announcements from the Horse Radio Network.
Yep. Cool stuff.
All
But
right.
you guys
Well,
have a lot of news to talk about.
yes, I guess the news is that Debbie McDonald has resigned as the United States developing coach to focus on individual riders and horses. So May 1st, 2016 is the date that she will step down from the post.
Oh, so she's given a lot of time. That's
yeah, they're
great.
giving them a lot of time. They have to find a successor to be the
Yep.
developing coach, and she's done a wonderful job. I think it's been
She
10
has.
years of her in that position, and lots of horses and riders have been developed under her tutelage, and she's given a lot to the U.S. team. So maybe it's time for her to focus on herself a little bit more. And
Yeah,
I
that's
think
great.
that's the
She's
point, so.
wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's wonderful. That's very, she's a wonderful lady, and she has done a lot for the program. So it'll be interesting. Lots of changes at USEF.
yeah. Well, Reese, I think that you can be our first guest on tonight's episode because you competed in Lamplight at the U.S. Young Horse Finals. So how did that
Yeah.
go with your 6-year-old?
My wonderful 6-year-old. It was a great week. It really was. And I think this show is really dedicated. We wanted to just kind of do a young horse wrap up of the whole week. And it really is a special show to go to. I mean, anytime you get to go to your U.S. national finals in any sport, it's really a special event. And USEF does a great job, and all the staff making sure that you feel special and that you feel like you really have accomplished something by getting to that event. And this was my first young horse that I've ever gone to, Young Horse National Finals. So, there is a level of a learning curve. I talk to Phil every day pretty much.
We were talking quite a bit. Maybe it wasn't every day, but we were
Yeah,
talking
maybe it
quite
was
a
every day.
bit.
It was quite a bit of,
That's
oh my
good.
gosh. It was really, young horse and presenting young horses is its own art. It really is. It's its only way of riding and its own way of, it's not that different, but there are things that are a little bit different than riding a technical test. So I really did enjoy that. I enjoyed seeing all the fantastic horses from around the country. And it was the 4, 5, 6-year-olds, then the developing Prix St. George and the developing Grand Prix. And then it was also, there were ponies, there was the medal seat finals, there was the young riders, there was the juniors, and the U25. that all went on
Yeah,
that week.
it's a lot of stuff going on.
It was a lot of stuff. It was a lot. The first test that I rode, there was a lot going on at that time when I rode. So Hello, his name is Hello, but we call him he shows under Elincore. He was a little bit distracted, and I learned a lot sort of during that test. That was we've never had such a big environment to be in with so much activity. So that was good for me to sort of regroup and rally for Sunday. I was really happy with him on Sunday. I thought I had really presented the test that I wanted to present. And we finished 7th overall. And I was very happy with, like I said, with him on Sunday and how he developed and sort of what I learned through the week. I was very lucky to work with Scott Hassler. We prepared. I went a week to Scott's. I came home for a week to sort of check on my business here, and then we went to Chicago. So I really was happy with how we got ready and how he was, and so really overall it was a fantastic week. And like I said, overall, just learned a ton about my horse. I learned a ton about the Young Horse program, and I can't wait to have another one. Hopefully, Elin Court will go back as doing the developing St. George next year. That would be the plan. We'll see. I think we can really make it. I'm really looking forward. He's such a wonderful horse. And Phil has been there from the beginning, from when we found him last year. We've had him not quite a year yet. So really, it does
exciting.
take a
pretty
year.
fun. Yeah.
Very
a fun
fun
opportunity with a young horse to develop and to go to that big show. I think it's
Yep.
Those young horse shows are so exciting because they're just so full of possibilities. When you go to a national final for Grand Prix horses and small tour horses, that's really exciting because you're seeing finished product, right?
Right.
But I think when you have just a raw horse that you can mold and you can train and you can think how great the horse can be, that's really fun and exciting. So that's awesome. Congratulations, Reese.
Thank you very much. Thanks for really you guys for supporting me through last month. So it's nice to be back and getting back in routine for sure.
Hey, can we also add that Reese has other news? She's now a professor.
Yes,
like a real professor.
I am a real professor. It is. We were talking right before the show. I am teaching at the University of Kentucky College of Agriculture, Food, and Environment, and I am teaching a class in global sport horse industry. So I was asked to do that about a year ago. It also has been in the works, and so I will say my Monday nights and my Thursday nights are very, very busy this semester. So,
and can I just add that Philip and I don't want any homework. We don't get homework.
I know.
Not the school stuff.
No, that.
Yeah, no, it's a really fun new adventure for me, and we had our first class this week, and I have 13 more to go, and I'll let you know at the end of the semester.
How many students do you have in a class?
I think it'll end up being 32.
That's a lot of papers to grade.
Yes, I'm a little worried about that. I'm not
just don't give homework, and then you won't have to.
Right. No tests, no homework.
Everybody's happy.
Yes, they have some projects.
Just pop quizzes.
They'll love you.
Lots
You'll be
and
the favorite teacher.
I know. Right? There will be some quiz. There'll be a quiz every day because I know, it's the showing up to class, and this I tried to really give them a real overview on what's happening with the sport horse industry. So there is a speaker at each class. So, and they're all friends of mine or people that I feel like would add a lot to the class. So they do have to show up. So there is a quiz every time. Nice. I told them that though. There's no pop.
I see Reese being like a hard ass teacher.
Yeah,
you, Philip. She's going to have a ruler and be smacking hands.
Well, I did kind of scare him. I was like, if I see anybody on a cell phone, it will be up at my desk for the entire.
Ooh, I told you she's going to be like the nuns in Catholic school.
I am. I'm like, no cell phones. No, yeah. See, we didn't have cell phones when I was. Well, we had them when I was in college.
Put yourself way back there.
Yeah, but I don't remember playing on my cell phone in college. No, we're not doing that. So yeah, their cell phones, if I see them, are mine. I already told them. Like, put them away. I don't want to see them. So yeah, I'll let you know how my cell phone rule's going.
Okay, yeah, we'll get updates on the cell phone. How many cell phones you've collected? Nice. Well, first up on the show, we've got Emily Miles to talk to us about her awesome horse, Wakeup, who's won pretty much every year at the National Young Horse Finals. Right after this commercial from Uncle Jimmy's.
Hello, folks. Uncle Jimmy here, and welcome to the world of Uncle Jimmy brand products, where funny names mean serious products. Featuring Uncle Jimmy's Squeezy Buns, the squeezably soft hand treat that your horse will love. The award-winning Uncle Jimmy's Hangin' Balls. Uncle Jimmy's Sugar-Free Ball. The incredible Licky Thing, also in sugar-free. The amazing Uncle Jimmy's Pecker-Wrecker. And the Big Licky. The infamous Uncle Jimmy Hangin' Ball was first designed by me for my own horses to help reduce the bad habits which come from stall boredom. It now can be found around the world. This nutritious, flavored, filled boredom buster will help keep your horses occupied and happy around the clock. Properly hung, it will last for weeks, provided you don't let your horse pin it. And Uncle Jimmy knows who you are. The ball comes in 4 flavors: apple, carrot, peppermint, molasses, and now sugar-free. Once again, welcome to the world of Uncle Jimmy's brand products, where funny names mean serious products, and satisfaction is 100% guaranteed.
Well, we are so very excited to have our friend Emily Miles, formerly Emily Wagner. She got married on the program. Emily, how are you this evening?
You made it sound like I got married on the program.
That would be a
Got
really
married
good.
Did not actually get married on the program, but thanks for having me.
That is so very true. That could be something Glenn can organize for some other time. I'm not planning on getting married again either, so no.
Hopefully not. Yeah, don't plan on that.
Well, welcome to the show. We're
Could
so
make a
happy to
good
have
show,
you.
though.
It would make a good show. So, Emily, we are so happy to report that you and your wonderful stallion Wakeup won the Developing Grand Prix at the
Yeah.
USCF National Finals. And that made him, we think, become the winning most young horse for sure in the United States. Am I correct on that?
I don't know for sure. Like, I haven't looked at all the records. I know that Selton HW won the 4, 5, and 6-year-old. But I think with Wakeup, he won the 6-year-old, the Developing Prix St. George, and the Developing Grand Prix, and he was reserved in the Developing Prix St. George and the Developing Grand Prix one year. So if I'm counting my reserves, I think that he could be considered the winningest horse as of now. But
I
haven't looked at the records.
Would he be the winningest American bred horse? Because was Selton bred in America?
No, I don't think so.
I think he could take that title for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
That's
Okay.
fantastic. So and he missed
Very
as a
proud of him.
5-year-old. You went to Germany as a 5-year-old, right? He went to Verden.
Right.
So
So he went to Verden as a 5-year-old, and I can't remember. I mean, he qualified for the young horse. I can't remember what his ranking was or whatever. And he competed there as a 4-year-old, but as a 4-year-old, he was a little bit distracted, and we ended up 5th or 4th, I think. So yeah, he's been there every year, which is really cool. Like, I think it's great that people still can remember him as a 4-year-old, and they saw him compete. We competed in Chicago to do the selection trials for Verden, so they saw him as a 5-year-old there, and then he came back as a 6-year-old, and then he was there as a 7-year-old and got reserved. There's an 8-year-old won the Prix St. George. There's a 9-year-old getting reserved, and then won it this year as a 10-year-old. So he's done the whole program, and he graduated with honors, as somebody put it, and I thought that was just great. And I couldn't be more elated. Like I keep saying, like the rest of his career is all icing on the cake. I guess it's been an amazing journey, and I've learned so much through it. I've been exposed to so much, and to have a horse that's mine, that I knew the dad, that I knew the mom, that I've known him since he was 3 weeks old. Like, that's just, it's incredible and amazing. And I feel so incredibly fortunate to have some horse like that could take me there. So like I keep telling everybody, it's almost like, it's like now he's done. He graduated. He's a fantastic Grand Prix horse. All the pressure's off. Now everything else he does for me is complete icing on the cake, and I could never ask for more from him. So if he gives me something more, then that is just icing on the cake. So.
Oh, that is it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, really.
It's so cool.
It is so cool, and that's what's so fun about we are friends, and just watching you succeed and go through the levels is it's heartwarming.
And so many people came up to me this year, and they're like, "We can't believe he's like finishing this year. Like, well, it won't was ashamed not seeing Wakeup here. And so many people were like, we remember him when he was this scrawny 4-year-old. We remember him when he was still speaking at sabotage. And we remember him when. I'm like, I do too. It's like, oh, he's special to so many people. And that's heartwarming for me, to like,
Sure.
know that people like, because usually I run into people at shows and they're like, I remember you running around in diapers, and I'm like, great, super.
Oh,
So now
nice,
to have people say, we remember Wakeup running around in diapers, it's like, yes, that's cool.
So Emily, tell us some things that you've learned. I mean, I think that's and what it's been like to have a horse go all the way through the program. Just kind of share some of your thoughts about that with our listeners.
I think, like I said before, the program is an amazing, it's a checkpoint for everyone to be like, okay, I have a 4-year-old. What can my 4-year-old be doing? How are the best 4-year-olds in the country going? And I don't think that every horse necessarily needs to follow the same path. I think that some horses maybe find it more difficult to learn the changes as a 6-year-old, and so they don't come until a 7-year-old, or a 7-year-old is not necessarily ready to do the pre-St. George at the level that now, like, you see our developing pre-St. George classes, and that's really you don't get in if you're not scoring 70. So I don't think that every horse needs to be on that program, but it is a fantastic way to say, okay, I have a young 4-year-old stallion who's, I think, really good. Is he really good? Is he where he should be? Is he competing at the level that he needs to be? And then to go to the national championships, to qualify, to go and to put yourself against the best in the country. I think it's so important. But to have a horse that not only let me compare myself as a 4-year-old and as a 5-year-old and as a 5-year-old to be exposed to Verdun and to be exposed to the process of competing abroad, that's a whole nother can of worms. And then to come back and be a 6-year-old and start to show can he really not only have fantastic gaits, but can he put it together in a test and show good training, and can that training hold up then through the pre-St. George, where you're expected then to not be scored just on the 3 gaits, but on every movement as you go along? And how did he develop from a 7-year-old pre-St. George horse to then an 8-year-old pre-St. George horse with really having confirmed everything? Can you add all that brilliance back in? And then to put the end on it, the piaffe and passage and the tight pirouettes on the center line in front of the judges, it's the pipeline. It's telling you the path. It's showing you this is where you should be every year, and this is how it should go. And it's amazing to have that structure. And like I said, not every horse can hold up to it or should be at the same spot. Some horses have amazing piaffe and passage at 6, but don't have the tempi changes at 7. But for me, for Wakeup, it was excellent to every year be able to go back and say, okay, Lamplight is our checkpoint. Where are we? Are we holding up? Are we falling behind? Are we keeping in pace with the rest of the country and where we should be and how a developing horse should look? And that was great for me to have that pipeline, to have that path. And then you add to it that you get exposure to different clinicians that come in there. The Scott Hassler, when he was the coach, to have him come and look at him. And then you get invited to the young horse symposiums, and then you get different opportunities through that program. To have Debbie McDonald teach me this time was amazing. And then the final thing is to be able to watch other people and to see, oh, I love that horse ridden by that person, and what are its bloodlines, or what is she doing differently than I am? And maybe you're seeing them warm up in a little different way, and being exposed to really good riding as well. And then the best thing that has happened to me, besides having Wakeup be my hero of all horses, he's just an amazing freak of nature that I'm lucky enough to have. But then that different owners could see me ride, and Wakeup makes me look good, so yay for me.
Yeah, it's great. It's great
to have
promotion
them
for your
say,
ride. Yeah.
hey, I would love for you to take my young horse. I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to ride ET if I was on, it's because of Wakeup that I got a horse like ET to ride. And then for ET to be able to come out and get second at the 6-year-old this year is amazing. But it's not because of me. It's because of Wakeup, and because I got the opportunity to be riding at a big show that brings in good owners who have fantastic horses looking around, and yeah, it was a lot of different circumstances that brought ET to me. And Leslie's the owner, Leslie Waterman. She has a bunch of other horses too, but it was a bunch of different circumstances that brought it. But she would have never known my name from Joe if it wasn't for Wakeup and the Young Horse program, So I think that it's valuable in so many ways.
I was going to say that's a really interesting point in that having a young horse finals in the U.S., not just at Verden, but to have something centralized at Lamplight to showcase U.S. riding and U.S. horses has been really important.
Because there's a lot of trainers out there, excuse me for interrupting, there's a lot of trainers out there who are fantastic Grand Prix riders, but I think it's a whole nother, like when you look in Europe, there's very much a difference between these are our Grand Prix riders and these are our young horse riders. They start our young horses and ride them until 6, and then they go on to big Grand Prix riders. The Grand Prix riders don't start their own young horses. Maybe they kind of watch their riders start their Grand Prix horses, but usually there's a pretty big separation. So I think it's good to be able to say, hey, look, like I can take this horse through the levels. I can do this, and then be able to, like you said, showcase the riding.
You can showcase that every year. Yeah, I think because unfortunately, Stefan Peters is not going to be around forever, and you have to sort of say, where is the next riders? Who's developing them? Where are they coming from? And in all parts of the country, the horses need to be developed really well as well. And so I think it builds horses and it builds riders, and it's wonderful.
It's a like pyramid that's going to happen. There better be a ton of 4-year-olds if you're going to have a handful of good Grand Prix horses.
Yeah.
Like
and
not all of them are
training.
going to make it to 5, and they're not going to make it to 7, and they're not going to make it to the 10-year-old Grand Prix horse. So if you don't have a huge base of 4-year-olds to pull from, and those huge number of 4-year-olds need to be ridden by really top quality riders in order for them to be able to be on the right path. And the Young Horse program brings out that path, which I think is the fantastic part of it. I mean, like, if you don't know, well, what should my 4-year-old be doing? What should my 6-year-old be doing? And I'm not saying it's concrete. I'm not saying that every 6-year-old could, because I don't want people to think that, but it's an idea, If your 6-year-old is headed for the Grand Prix, this is probably where it should be at or close to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I mean, I think every horse, and we talk about this in young horse forums, and not every horse can make make the young horse finals. But it is but it's very good. It's like my horse had to go during an award ceremony. Now, was that great for him as a 6-year-old? No. Will that be great for him as a Grand Prix horse? To have had that experience at a major championships with that going on? Yes. And I think you kind of have to go to those young horse finals and think about that. Like, this is a horse for the future. He maybe isn't perfect. I mean, you saw a lot of 4-year-olds that were very overwhelmed there. But
absolutely.
I guarantee
Wakeup was overwhelmed there as a 4-year-old.
Yeah, I'm sure they slept for a week. Literally. I slept for almost a week myself. Those horses slept for a week, and they learned a lot while they were at that particular competition. So I think there's a lot to be said.
And I've heard people say too that, if my 4-year-old is going through that competition like easy peasy, no big deal, like sleeping through it, and sorry to use your words again, but saying that like, oh, I'm a 4-year-old, I'm rocking this competition, I'm not going to blink an eye, this is all not a big deal, then they're not hot enough to be a Grand Prix horse. And I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, that you need a horse that's that alert and that aware of its surroundings to make a super good Grand Prix horse. But I've heard that said too, But
there's
the
lots
4-year-old that wins the young horse championships because it's so dead quiet and good. But I don't think that's like, I still see the 4-year-olds jumping around and they reward good scores because they know they're 4, So it's a different perspective.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they're not good as 4-year-old, maybe they come back as a 5-year-old and have been there, seen that, done it, and then it's about getting exposure to big shows and big environments. And I mean, that's why a lot of the German horses are so good, is because they go to Bundeschampionship at 3 years old.
Oh my gosh! You see the 2.5-year-old stallion show up to the stallion show, and you're like, "Are you serious? This horse is 2.5, been broke for like." I was there in January and December and January, and I was like seeing these, so they're coming 3 that next year, but they're broke as essentially 2.5-year-olds, and going in these huge stallion shows, lost chalk cannon around the ring with music blaring and people clapping and everybody wanting to see how riled up they could get them to see how much chalk they have in there. And those poor little riders are like, oh God, we're hanging on. But they do fantastic, and they by the time they're 6, they're like, oh, no big deal, But
Exactly.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's a different perspective. It's a different way to do things. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know.
No, but it's a great experience, no matter what. I think, if you get a horse qualified and are able to get to the finals, it's a great experience. And I also think...
And for the owners of the horse to look around and see other horses, for the breeders to look around. The
breeders, it's so important for the breeders. I think.
Which horses are qualifying? What traits do I see? Do I see, crossing with different lines? How does that work out? For the riders to look around and say, oh, there was a, Florissant baby there that I really loved, or there was a quarterback that I really didn't like the way, who knows what, it's just, and it's great for us to, every time I'm there, I'm inspired, and I go back and reevaluate my own program, and I'm like, okay, I like what she did. Can I do that? I didn't like seeing that. Can I make sure that I never look down again? How many times do we as riders, I'm sure Reese do the same thing, is you look and you're like, oh, she's looking down, look up, it would make you look so much better, and then you're like, wait, do I look down too? I do the same thing, damn it, So,
well,
it's good.
It is, and it's a really good 4 days because the judges, good or bad, the judges comment on every single ride.
Yeah.
And I think it's really worth people's time. If you're going to go to a championship, if you go to a Gladstone or a national championship for the big tour or the small tour, you don't get comments. You're going to see the scores, but you're not going to hear the comments of the judges. So in some ways, if you're going to choose something to go to from an educational standpoint, sit down at lamplight, come see the horses and sit and study. And it
give
really
your own scores, see what how you would stack up. They have the list. They have the show program. Sit there, give a walk, trot, mechanic score, general impression score, submission score. It's not that easy. It's difficult, it forces you to okay, what do I like? What do I not like? What do they like?
Exactly. So I think it's a great educational opportunity for all our listeners if it happens every year. And if you ever want to go and see it, you do learn a lot. And we would try to watch as much as we could while we were there. So it's a really good program for that from educational standpoint.
Okay. So, now I have to admit, I can't watch very well. I get really nervous. I like to hide back in the barn because I get really nervous watching everybody else, and I'm like, oh, shoot, that's a good one. Oh, shoot, that's a good one. Oh, shoot, that's a good one. So I don't do well watching. When it's over, then I'm like, oh, okay, now I can sit down and watch because now it's okay.
Yes. Oh, well.
It makes me really nervous.
Exactly. No, that's acceptable. Well, Emily, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story with Wakeup. And we are really looking forward to seeing you guys in the future for whatever that holds. We'll be excited to continue watching
icing on the cake. It doesn't matter. Icing on the cake. Thanks for having me.
Emily, how do our listeners find you online?
I don't have a website. I'm working on it, but feel free to follow me on Facebook. Be my friend on Facebook. I'm Emily Miles now, which is weird, but Emily Ifter Miles on Facebook. Otherwise, I'm working on a website. We'll get one up someday, but until then.
Fantastic. Well, you can find Emily on Facebook and ask her any questions about Wakeup that you want to know. So, Emily, thanks so much for your time, and we look forward to having you on in the future.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Dr. Rose's Remedies Skin Treatment Salve and Spray are 100% all-natural products. They are anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal. Dr. Rose's are made with all human-grade ingredients and are safe and effective for treatment for all manner of cuts and scrapes on your horse. And Dr. Rose's is the must-have product here at the Horse Radio Network headquarters to keep PT Scooter's delicate white pasterns free from dew poisoning and scratches. Ask for Dr. Rose's at your local local tax store or feed supplier, or visit them online at drrosesremedies.com. That's drrosesremedies.com.
Coming up next is the U.S. Young Horse Team Coach, Christine Traurig. She's going to talk about her vision for the Young Horse program in the U.S. Well, this evening, it is truly an honor to introduce our new U.S. Young Horse Team Coach, Christine Traurig, to the show. How are you, Christine?
I'm fine, thank you. And thank you for having me on your show. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, we met just a few weeks ago in Lamplight at the Young Horse Finals, and it was so exciting to have you see my own young horse, but also your enthusiasm for the whole program. So I wanted to have you on the show, kind of introduce yourself and sort of what is the vision for the U.S. Young Horse program in the future. So if we could get started, could you just tell us all a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, Reese. Thank you. First of all, I would like to compliment you on how you presented your young horse at the finals. I really liked watching the way you presented your horse, and I could clearly see that your horse was trained beautifully along the scale of training, which is something that we look for in the sport of dressage at all levels with any horse. So I greatly appreciated that, Reese. It was beautiful. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And I didn't pay her to say that. I promise everyone. Thank you, Christine.
But things like that need mentioning. You know, we talked in the sport so many times and so often about the superstars and in the high performance and names that are always out there, from Charlotte Dujardin to Stephen Peters. But also our riders and trainers and passionate horse enthusiasts who do a very good job at an event need mentioning. So this is why I wanted to make sure I say this to you.
Thank you very much. So Christine, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, about myself. I was born and raised in Germany. I was born and raised on a farm. My father was a breeder, a passionate breeder. Horses have been in my life since I can remember. I think I sat on a horse before I could walk. That's at least what my mother tells me to this day. And I grew up developing young horses in Germany, particularly for sale, because part of the income at our farm was, of course, based upon the fact that we would breed horses, break them, train them on the saddle, and make them marketable for purchase. And that is what I did in the beginning of my riding career. As soon as I had balance in the saddle and had a feel for the horse, and I was most certainly not afraid when I was younger, let me put it that way. I would make the horses at my father's farm, getting them ready for the Hanoverian Elite Auction Sale in Verden, where I started working during school breaks in the spring and in the fall since I was 13 years old. And I loved that time. Taught me a lot about the young horses. I loved it, absolutely loved it. So my passion for dressage did not actually start by being able to ride a half-pass at Terrace, Tempe Chambers, Piaffe Dressage. It actually started by getting a real thrill out of the fact that I could develop an athlete for the sport. That means that I could develop the way the horse physically applied itself, developing the gait. I cannot tell you what a thrill it was for me when I could really, truly develop a good lengthening of the trot. Because I'll be honest with you, when I was little and our horses need to be marketed, there had to be a lengthening of the trot. And the more balanced and the more easy and the more willing the horse exhibited that, the more desirable the horse was. And needless to say, the income at our farm in Germany greatly depended on our breeding program and then the marketability of those horses. And from there, I basically came to the United States because I met my ex-husband at the elite sale in Verden, in a very elite sale in Verden, where he bought horses for resale in the United States. And he met me there, and he said, well, I have a feeling I need to import you as well to keep riding the horses that I would like to market in the U.S. And mind you, that was in 1982. In those days, it was pretty much a foreign subject for Americans to ride a warm blood. Yeah. In those days, the warm bloods were considered heavy and dull, which was not necessarily the case. I'm not trying to say that. But for the Americans, the sport was really based upon making racehorses useful for the sport of jumping and dressage and 3-day events. So I was imported to the United States during that transition period. And from there on, I was fortunate, very, very fortunate, to have met the right people at the right time who supported my desire and talent to further educate myself to Grand Prix level. And the result of that was that I competed at the Sydney Olympic Games with my horse Etienne, and we clinched the bronze medal for the United States Equestrian Institute. In the meantime, I say with great pride also that during the time I was working for Bernie Traurig and then married to Bernie Traurig, we imported some fantastic horses that made it to the top level of the sport at many levels. To give you a couple of examples, Orpheus, for example, competed with Jessica Ransenhausen in the Seoul Olympic Games. We imported that horse. Other examples, for Robert Dover, our Bouchertag, and Lectra, both horses were imported to us. Epernay was a horse that Christopher Boylan competed in the Pan American Games with and won the individual gold medals with. At the same time, we also imported many, many jumpers that advanced to international levels. But I'm really proud to say that many dressage horses were imported that people would tell you that they were high-quality horses that advanced to high level. And that I'm really, really proud of for having been part of it.
Then you've seen the sport of dressage change a lot in the U.S. in those years, huh?
Absolutely. I've seen the sport change a lot. Where now, of course, the warm blood, and specifically from Holland and from Germany, have influenced the sport of dressage due to the sophistication of their breeding worldwide, not only in our country, but worldwide. The Danish breeding program, along with also the Swedish breeding program, are most definitely catching up. But if I may say so, I really think the source of great quality in breeding throughout the world comes from two specific countries, and that is Germany and Holland. And now that we have the advantage that basically frozen semen can be transported all over the world, all countries have direct access to the best stallions and the best mares and the best combinations from wherever they are. So that's a huge advantage nowadays, I would have to say. Yes, but the breeding program and the influence of the warm blood bred in Europe has definitely changed the sport of this country drastically to a level where we now are hoping to always be a contestant for the podium, to win a medal. And for that, we have to produce the very best horses so that we have a pool of quality horse flesh to draw from to supply our teams with.
So, Christine, I wondered if you could give us a little assessment as, you've just sort of taken over. It's your first summer as the Young Horse team coach. What is your assessment of the U.S. Young Horse program currently?
I first of all would have to say that I think our previous coach, Scott Hassler, has worked really, really hard to lay the foundation for this program. And he's a very good friend of mine, and I plan on partnering up with him in the future a great deal because he has great experience. And I do believe since this country is so big, it is very important that people work together. One person cannot be available to all parts of the country. Communication is very, very, very important in that sense. So Scott has laid the foundation, and I hope to build upon that. That being said, I find it is extremely important that since this country is let's talk about the numbers. If we talk about the numbers of participants in this country, we do know that the numbers of amateurs participating in the sport is greater than professionals, is greater than the kids, is greater than the juniors, and is greater in numbers than our high performance Grand Prix riders. I'm not saying that is a bad thing. That's a great thing because enthusiasm needs numbers, needs people who love the sport and love to ride horses. However, the popularity of the sport also very much depends on us being internationally famous. There's no doubt about it. That enhances everything. Everybody loves to participate in something that's famous and successful. That being said again, we have to make sure that we do not just develop riders that can ride really well, but we have to great riders, not just really well, great riders we need for that, but we also need the horses that are just as great. And these horses have to be developed when they're young because the market is so competitive. The sport at the top level, at the peak, is so competitive that it is very difficult to buy that horse that has already developed its potential close to the peak, and then being able to buy it from the countries that are already the winners. You see what I'm saying? And you know which countries I'm talking about, right? We're always talking about Holland, Germany, Holland, Great Britain, and then another country knocks on the door, close to it. But we're always talking about the same two countries that breed them, can produce them, take them to the peak of the sport, the level of the sport, and then win with them. So we have to try and work very hard to make this sport more successful by producing more horses, just as many horses as we produce riders. And that starts when they're young. I always like to say this. When we listen to the news, all politicians always talk about the future, and they always talk about investing in the youth, into our children. Well, in the sport of dressage, we do not only have people, we also have our youth are also the horses, and that is what we have to invest into.
It makes total sense. I mean, you're absolutely right. And I have to be honest, it's hard to learn how to train and properly train a young horse. So, Christine, if let's say, I'm a rider, I'm in Kansas, and I have a really, really top quality, in my mind, 4-year-old. How do I get access to the USCF programs?
I love that question. Our plan is to make the program more approachable and accessible to people. That means, as I also said in the riders meeting, I want people to know that I am a person and I am approachable. I have an email address. I have a phone number. You can find me on Facebook. Make it be known to me that you have a wonderful young horse, or even if you think you have a wonderful young horse. Send me an email. Send me a video. Make yourself known to me. And I would like to make the country smaller by just making myself more approachable, that people can find me. Together with the USES, I am also going to work on expanding the website of the USES, and to where when people say to themselves, okay, the United States Equestrian Federation, that's my organization. Now, I need to know what I need to do with my young horse to get from A to B to C, and so forth. That when they go to the website, that they can find a page that lists A, B, C, D, E. These are the steps. And they can read through the steps. If you fall in that category, then you just go from A to B to C. Or if you say A, I've already got covered, there's B and C, and then they say A, B, C is covered. Now, how do I go about from there on forward? And I find that again, since this country is so big, I find that very, very important that there are logical steps listed. At the same time, I would like to establish very, very consistent training sessions throughout the country. I do know that Scott Hassler took great pride and great effort into trying to do the same. However, again, this country is really, really big, and we just have to make sure that we access all areas. That's not so easy. In the meeting at Landlife, I really stressed the fact that traveling in the United States to get help, to get positive reinforcement, to get encouragement, to get advice will take travel. The high performance riders do the same thing. The developing riders do the same thing. And the riders within the young horse program, may it be a breeder, an owner, or horse rider combination that's already established in that program, here or there will have to travel. We are trying to make it fair, but it's going to be necessary. It is our initiative as riders and owners and breeders that we have to take, that if we target to produce one of the best horses in the world, as I said in the riders meeting, it is up to us also to take the initiative. And when I say up to us, me as a coach too, I will go out of my way to reach all people that have the desire to produce the best horse possible.
Fantastic. And Christine, you also give clinics, and you had said that if someone wants to get into a clinic, that's possible if they have a young horse. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I do clinics all over the country, and I love it. I have established locations where I have established such a strong relationship to riders and horses, because some horses I've known since they are young. Some of them 3 years old, and they are now 8 years old, 9 years old, and have moved up along the level, and that creates a real bond. And then then you become really proud of the result. And that doesn't mean that all of the horses go to the very top, but you develop a bond between the horses and the riders. And yes, when I do those clinics all over the country, I did say to all clinic hosts, anybody who has a young horse that would like to get into the clinic can contact me first. Maybe even send me a short little video clip so I have an impression of the horse rider combination in quality and stage of training. Yes, they do get priority. I find that very, very important, because there is just not enough funding in this program yet where we can have as many training sessions as there will be eventually needed. We don't have that yet, but I'm working on making that change.
Fantastic. So, Christine, can you give our listeners your email and how, if someone has a great young horse, that they could connect with you?
Absolutely. My email, I'm going to give it to you right now. My email is TTETIENNE@AOL.com. Email me, everybody, please. Feel free to email me. I'd love it.
Well, fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah, awesome.
Christine, thank you so much for your time this evening. And I look forward, you're going to be in Kentucky in a few weeks, and I look forward to working with you myself. And I hope that everyone, if you have a great young horse, contact Christine, and her email will also be in our show notes. If you need to get a hold of her, we can make that happen. So thank you so much, Christine, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was my great pleasure. Thank you very, very much.
Well, coming up next, we have the Total Saddle Fit Shoulder Relief Girth Tip of the Week. And I got to tell you guys, people are buying the girth. We're hearing from our listeners, and I know that you had some questions, Reese, here recently from listeners asking about how it fits and measurements and things. So, one of the reasons that we have gotten to the size we have at the Horse Radio Network and have done as well as we have is you guys, the listeners, are supporting our sponsors, and we thank you for that. We really appreciate it. And we only talk about products that we like. So, we will not accept a product unless they're quality products. I turned down a couple recently that we tested and they didn't work for us. And the one people were really mad at me. They really wanted to advertise and I just couldn't do it. We're not going to put our credibility on the line for a product that doesn't work. And I know you guys both use this girth, so it works.
It really does. It absolutely works. And I have used it on all different body types. And today I used it on a new horse that I got in training. And this horse is huge. He's 18-1.
Whoa.
I mean, he is huge. And I'm a tall girl. And I looked in the mirror and thought, ooh, I really don't want to come off of this bad boy. He's a really sweet horse, though. He's very, very kind. Huge horse. Yeah, huge horse. Oh, my goodness. He's a monster. And this girth fits great. I mean, that was the first girth I grabbed because I had to find tack that fit him. And he's actually not that wide. He's pretty narrow.
Good thing.
But thank goodness. But
Yeah.
this the Total Saddle Fit Shoulder Relief Girth, it's fantastic. It really, truly is. I have personally used it on all body types. And Phil, I know you've done the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had clients of mine and students or just, people ask me, hey, is I'm thinking about getting a new girth. Is this thing for real? Like, and for sure, just like Glenn said, like these are products that we really like and that we use and we use this girth every single day. And I say, yeah, for sure. Get the girth. It won't cost you a ton of money. There are lots of really more expensive girths that don't do the job. So if you're thinking about a girth for your horse, this one, that's why I say this one works for me. It's worked for every horse that, somebody's asked me about, should I get this girth? They've got the girth. They've been very happy with it. So, I think you can always talk to Justin, send him an email if you have a question about, whether the girth will work for you. He's great at answering questions. He's great about coming on the show. So we'll take all your saddle fitting questions here and we'll have him back on if you want.
TotalSaddleFit.com. And coming up today, who do we have?
Today we have Endo Otts. He is just represented the United States at Verdun with a 5 and a 6-year-old. So this week he's doing a Total Saddle Fit tip of the week for us. And next week he's going to come back on the show and be our headliner and talk about his experience at Verdun, the World Championship for Young Horses. Well, this evening, I am so excited for our Total Saddle Fit tip of the week to have Endo Otts, who represented the United States at Verdun this year. Endo, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Well, Endo, what is your Total Saddle Fit tip of the week for us?
The tip, I would say, one of the big things that I took away from being over in Europe and watching the young horse classes over there and watching all the top riders ride there, big thing that separates the top riders and the top young horse riders are the transitions. Of course, you have to do a clean test, have to have a big extended trot, clean walk, big walk, good walk pirouettes, half passes and everything. But the transitions, that you do not show the judges any loss of connection, any loss of rhythm. that it is just seamless. So they practice. When I was at Hans Meyer, who's Roland's place, and he's the young horse coach for the German team, he practices transitions again and again and again and again and again until you're blue in the face and until they're almost perfect, because they're never perfect. But that is the big thing, I would say, especially in young horse classes, the transition part, to really, really focus on that.
Well, after riding so many transitions and trying to make them perfect, what do you think are some keys to making good transitions? Because we can always practice transitions, but I think they have to be practiced correctly.
A big thing I would be in there is to make sure that the rhythm is clean. So if you're going from trot to walk, that there's no like stumble step or balance step in between, from walk to canter, that you go from walk to a clear canter, that the canter does not rush off or fall out of balance afterwards. And even to think about if you're doing a simple change, you do a nice big canter into a walk, the walk shouldn't be too slow. It should match the canter that happened beforehand. So you really try to tie in the gait that you did before the transition through the transition, and then right afterwards it should match it. So it really has to flow in a really nice way. So if you go from you do a simple change from a canter to walk to canter again, and the horse maybe slows down a little bit too much in the walk, ride it a little bit forward and a little bit sideways in there, so that then the canter goes forward. And you may have a little balance issues here and there, but to work it so that it balances out, and that it gets a lot more seamless in between.
And how do you ride a backwards transition without pulling on the horse's mouth? What's the key to the connection there?
I would say that. Okay, that's hard.
We're gonna put you on the spot.
Man, he's tough tonight.
I'll take door number 2. I'll do my Yoda impression instead. No, I would say that. You do have to pull back in the reins to get them to listen a little bit in there, but you need to make sure that the horse in general, if you slow them down a little bit, it's like a car, changing gears from first gear to second gear, or slowing down in the gears, that you have enough rev in the engine, or you have enough go in the horse that you feel like it can jump, that it doesn't stall out. So you ride enough gas beforehand that if you're going to go into a walk transition on a horse that maybe slows down too much in the walk, that you ride that canter just a little bit quicker before the walk transition, and vice versa. If your horse is too fast in the walk, you ride that canter a little bit slower beforehand. So you almost ride the gait that you're going to go into beforehand, before the actual transition, so that it can slide through a little bit better. And it sounds good. I just made it up.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
That was a good one. So I know for our listeners, like when we talk about riding transitions to your blue in the face, let's just with an average adult amateur, talk to us about how often you would ride and how many transitions you would ride per day, which is tough.
I would say I think that's a tough question. I think on your average adult amateur, I think it depends, because what you're looking for in those tests. I mean, I try to always think about what am I showing? I mean, if I'm showing a young horse class, I'm going to ride a little bit different than if I'm doing a CDI class, or I'm going to do a national class or something else. It's every class is just slightly different in what you're doing. So I would say for the average adult amateur, I would say you want to do the transition so that they improve the work. So first off, you have a clean test. You want to have a clean test first, and then if you want to, so if you have maybe a horse that that you work on the transition, say your canter is a little bit too forward and falling out of balance. A lot of canter walk canter, or canter rein back canter in there, so that they wait and balance, so that you use those transitions as a period to get the aids through a little bit more with the horse, so that the horse does not, a transition, if you really think about it, and you can use it in your work and schooling at home, you use it because the half halts or the leg aids or the balancing aids, it can flow through a transition a little bit slower than maybe you need a quick answer. Maybe you're doing a half pass, so you need the horse to answer just a quick balancing half halt and go forward. Well, if they don't answer that balancing half halt and then, go forward right afterwards, a trot walk transition there, just to say, oh, wait, walk, okay, listen to my half halt, okay, now trot forward again. So I think about it in that instance, for an adult amateur to get a Prix St. George test or a Grand Prix test, you want to think about first how do you make the test clean? Once the test is clean, then you want to think, okay, how can I make it more brilliant? How can I get more points on it? How can I lose less points on it?
Fantastic.
Yeah, good answer.
Great answer, Endel. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show again. If our listeners want to find you online, Endel, how do they do that?
My website is endelottsdressage.com. Email address is endelotts@gmail.com. And you can find me online there. And, of course, Facebook and everything like that, it's all up there. Also have a Facebook page for the business, which is OTS Dressage on Facebook. And if you like me on there, message me on there. I'm happy to get back, and I'm happy to answer any questions from anybody. And also, especially, I have to say, I get some nice questions from young riders and different young people in the sport. And I mean, I've had still working on my career and still working on the horses and always moving forward. But I enjoy to get emails from people, asking for advice or asking for things, or, just to, ask questions here and there. And I really enjoy it. When I was a young rider, I sent some emails out to other top professionals and never heard back from them. And I never got the questions that I asked, or it was very vague and not very helpful. And I mean, I may take a little bit to get back to you sometimes if I'm traveling, but I love people calling and asking a little question about something, and I make time for that. I think it's very important.
Super. Well, Endel, thanks so much. And we look forward to having you back on the show next year and hearing all about your travels to Verden.
All right. That sounds good.
Well, this week we are busy. It's been a very busy week for us, actually, hasn't it, Philip? So we didn't do any email or Facebook shout outs, but please keep them coming. We have a list of them started, and we will answer as many as we can and get on as many people as we can to ask. We love listener questions, and Philip and I are here to help in any way that we can. So please send them in. And you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter @Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me at philipparksequestrian.com, and my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for allowing us to put on a great show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we'll talk to you next week.